Anita, and I am here with Carmalitta.
Hello, Anita.
And I just love her name. Trust me, when I first met her, though, it took me a minute, but I love her name. I do. But she is one of the artists here at Smoky Mountains Handmade Creations. I met Carmalitta at the Morristown Art Association meeting that I was able to, I was privileged to go and speak at. So it was really awesome to meet her there. And she was so encouraging. And now she's in this store, so I'm excited.
I was excited to find we had a place like this in Granger County.
Yes.
You know, Morristown, Hamlin County has several things. Of course, Knoxville's got lots of museums. Granger County's coming along.
Yes.
So now we have this wonderful little gallery gift shop here in Granger County.
We're here today so we can learn and more about Carmalitta and get to know her a little bit and her work. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you married? Do you have kids?
I am married. I have 2 children. I have a son and a daughter. They're both in their 50s now, so they don't feel like children anymore. But I have 3 grandsons. My daughter and the 3 boys live down in Florida at this point, and my son and daughter-in-law live in Granger County on the hill just above me, and they have 19 cats and 4 dogs. So
wow.
I've got grand pups and kittens. I am married to my second husband, Charlie. Charlie is retired fire chief, police chief, and Navy chief who ended up in this area when Hurricane Katrina came through and devastated the area that he lived in down around Gulfport, Mississippi.
Oh, wow.
And his wife at the time had a sister in Knoxville. So they escaped traumas of Katrina and came up to stay with her sister. His house got 9 feet of water in it.
Oh, wow.
And so, of course, everything was lost.
Yeah.
And they got the house cleaned up, and when it was ready for the family to come back, she said, I don't want to go through that again. I'm staying in Tennessee. So
I actually don't blame her.
So luckily for me then, he was brought to this area, and when his wife passed away, my husband had passed away also, and we eventually met and hit it off.
That's awesome.
And he's very supportive of my artwork. I grew up in Johnson City, Tennessee. That was home. Went to East Tennessee State and got my degree in art education. Became a public school art teacher. Taught for 32 plus years.
Wow.
And have retired.
That's awesome.
And now I'm doing all the kinds of things that I played with my kids in school with, but on my own level.
Yeah.
Now. So.
I wish I would have had you as an art teacher. Maybe I would have gotten it into a lot sooner than what I did. So, when did you get into the world of art?
When I was probably 2 or 3.
2 or 3?
I had a grandmother that lived with us that was very, very talented.
Oh.
She never had any training, but she drew on anything she could find. Having come up through the Depression era, she drew on the back of greeting cards, on the underneath side of the Kleenex box, anywhere where there was a blank white piece of paper, a napkin. She sketched, and I watched her. I grew up with it.
That's
and
awesome.
Again, it was just something that I did automatically. And grandmother gave me some leftover paint that was in a paint by numbers kit one time. And that was my first experience with oil paint.
Oh, wow.
I painted on the end of an orange crate. Wooden thing. Still have that painting. And I was probably 8 or 9 when I did that painting.
Oh, wow.
So I just have always done it and knew whenever I went into high school and then into college that I wanted to do something in art. So I got training.
That's awesome.
Have always done it.
Well, that's great. I mean, I know, like with my grandmother, she did things, but my grandmother died when I was 13, but I do still remember those time periods, and I have discovered that my arts, because she used to make things out of shells, the little figurines and sculptures and stuff, and she got me into that when I was very young. So I understand, and that's a bond that you made with your grandmother too, and you got to carry with you your whole entire life. That's pretty awesome. What other kind of arts have you tried and that you do?
The things that I tended to concentrate on in my own artwork were originally watercolors, and then I did acrylics, did a little bit of oil painting, not much. It didn't feel comfortable because at the time my children were little, and you don't have something that doesn't dry quickly laying around if there's little children around. So I moved from oils to acrylics fairly quickly. I have gotten into collage work. I do a lot of collage.
We actually have two of her pieces here. The one that's up there, and we also have one in the front room.
And these are both collage pieces. This particular piece has handmade paper in it, has shreds of paper from the paper shredder in school, and then also acrylic inks. I think that's probably all in that piece.
That's awesome.
So, collage is a combination of whatever you want to put into the image and glue down. The term means basically to cut and paste. It's a French word, but it don't have to just be cut, and they don't have to be just paper. They can be all kinds of
when at school, when we made collages, it definitely did not look like that at all. So that's really awesome.
Also,
go ahead.
Moved from painting into making jewelry.
Yes.
I know Anita does the wire jewelry, and I do wire jewelry also.
But we got totally two different kind of techniques.
Very different
and
styles. Mm-hmm. So the necklace and the bracelet that I have on and the earrings are some of my jewelry work. But I don't have any of the jewelry here on display.
Yeah. But that's
this point. We've got lots of other jewelry.
Unfortunately, we do have a lot of jewelry here.
COVID came around and shut everything down. It's kind of when I started getting into decorating the gourds, just to do something different. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of a shoot off from working with the jewelry. I decided to incorporate some beads. This piece has various beads woven into it. This piece has a chain on it, along with the piece of gourd that's been put on the scrap piece that's been cut and put on to decorate. Some of the pieces that I've done have little stones embedded if they're pierced. I don't know if this one does. No, this one doesn't have any of the embedded jewels in them, but some of them do, so that they're jewelry creations too.
How long does it take you to do your art, like the process of it?
Gourds are a member of the same family that pumpkins are in, and so therefore they grow from seeds, and I have planted some seeds this spring to get the plants started before I transfer them into the ground and let them grow along my fence in my yard. So here's what the little gourd plants look like when they're little babies. They will take over an area. So I use my chain link fence for the gourds to grow on. Some sizes of gourds, it is suggested that they're just allowed to grow on the ground. If they're the really large basket gourds, they'll be so heavy that they don't hang well if they're on a fence post. But most of the smaller ones will just hang and grow and be fine. So once the gourds have grown, and you leave them on the vine until frost, until they don't like cold weather. They like the nice warm weather. They don't like cold weather at all. So once the first frost comes, the vines will die. And it is suggested that you leave the gourds that have developed on the vines just as long as you can. Usually by the time they're all drying up, they're beginning to look really ugly, so it's time to take them down. So then you cut them down, and the next part of the process takes a long time because they have to dry. Now with this one right here, you can see where it was attached to the vine. This is considered a long neck bottle gourd. And this one has been drying this was probably from last year's. And so you have to let them dry, and the amount of drying time just depends really on the weather, on the humidity. If we were in a drier climate, they'd dry a lot more quickly, but here in East Tennessee with our humidity, it takes months for them to dry, and when they finally are dried, they're hard. They're wood. When you first pick them, they're soft. They feel like a squash or a pumpkin. You know, you have to be careful with them when you first, when they're green, because they can get damaged easily, and then they won't dry properly. They'll rot. So it's an iffy process. But this one, you can see the skin on the outside has dried up, and it's yucky. It's developed mold on it. We get this, this stuff. This has to all be cleaned off. And so once it's dry, then you move to scrubbing, getting all of this old dried skin off till they look nice and clean like this. And you can hear how hard they are. They're very lightweight when they're cut and so all the seeds have come out and whatnot. But they're not really all that heavy, once they're dry. When they're wet, they are. So these two have been completely dried. They're ready to be decorated. They're ready to cut, paint, whatever, wood burn on, whatever we want to do to them. Gourd vessels have been around for thousands and thousands of years. They're one of the first vessels that humankind used to put food in, or whatever they needed to store. And one of the things that they did early on was to develop dippers, where they would dip water, little drinking vessels or whatever. So this is one that I did, and you can kind of see, what it looked like. It had the other part over here, and so then that was just cut off to open up the bowl there. The decoration was put on this based on where there were some flaws in it, so to speak. With the mold and all that, you get these variations in the wood, the finished look. So that's part of figuring out what your design's going to be based on what kind of splotches your gourd has on it. So in the process of starting to cut, and work with them, I get scraps, and so the scrap pieces end up being used for odds and ends too. So you can see with this one, this is one of the leaf shapes that would have been cut and added onto one of these containers that has the layering of the leaves on it. So I don't throw anything away until it gets really, really small. I can't do anything else with it. You can see with this, this was the top of one, and I cut it so that the top of the bottle that was underneath had a sort of slanted look to it. And so these scrap pieces sit around in the shop, and again, they talk to me too sometimes. My husband is a retired fireman, and so he was looking at a piece and he said, "That looks like a fireman's helmet." So I ended up producing this piece for him last Christmas. It is a combination of a little small gourd for the bottom. It's a little basket, I guess you'd say, a little box. Then this was one piece cut here, the other piece here, and then using some modeling clay, the no-bake paper clay to form the parts to make the finished chief's helmet. This one has been cut. The top of the big bottle was cut off in a special way. I wanted to make a yarn basket with it, and then it ended up wood burning and painting on it. But I'm showing you this one specifically to talk about the scrap pieces. As you can see, this is not the one that came off of this. This came off of another basket, but this was the top of the basket. And when I cut off and made the part
The loop,
swirl.
yeah.
This was left over and it sat on my table for a while, and I kept thinking, that looks like a cat's tail.
It does.
And so then I took another small piece off of, another scrap kind of situation and made the head and little scrap pieces for the ears and the nose.
So
Glued them
cute.
together with wood glue because it is a type of wood, and produced the little kitty cat.
That is all so
It's
cute.
on my kitchen shelf. I brought one piece that I did not do. It's part of my collection because since I've gotten into gourds, I have seen various things in antique shops and places that I've gone to, and this piece right here is one of my absolute favorites. This kind of gourd is called a canteen gourd. You can see where the stem, the center part where it hung from the vine this way. This has come from somewhere in South America.
Oh.
This is a piece that I feel like is an inspiration because the work is just so beautiful. It's been wood burned and painted, and carved, wood burned and painted. All of these images of the llamas and the people in their native costumes and whatnot around the edge. The star in the center. But at Christmas, this is my nativity scene.
Oh, wow.
What is your favorite thing about this particular art? I know you do many different kinds of things, but this particular one.
The gourd designing, the way I do it, allows me to incorporate a lot of different things that I do in other areas, like the drawing, the adding the beads or stones, incorporating some of the bead work from the jewelry, and it gives me the opportunity to do some carving, some cutting. So it's just fun to see something change from being a plant to becoming an object of art or an object of utilitarian use.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like magic.
Yeah.
And each one of, I know a lot of artists will say when they're working with, and you probably said it with your wire, the wire tells me what it wants to do.
Exactly.
Well, the gourds kind of tell me what they want to become. And it's just a fun, interactive process.
You might have one thing in your mind when you go to set, but as you're doing it, it's like, no, I don't want to be that. I want to be this. I get it with the wire. That's exactly how it is. So, totally 100% understand. What is your favorite piece in the store that we currently have, and why?
I would say that possibly this big piece right here is it's one of my favorites anyway.
It's my favorite too, just so you know.
This is not exactly a pumpkin, but it has that feeling about it, and for fall decor and whatnot. It's been pierced, big chunks cut out, and then shapes have been added back in to be the leaves. So the holes in it are the shape of the leaves, and then leaves have been layered on it. And then it's all been stained with a special color that's designed for the gourds, and then has been oversprayed.
Now, when I first seen this, I thought it'd be really cool to put one of those electric candles in here, or battery-operated
You
candles.
don't want to use a real candle.
No.
Because it might catch on fire because it's wood.
Yeah.
I had tried fairy lights just for the fun of it, and that didn't show real well, but I think probably a larger single candle light would work well in it.
For sure.
So,
and do you do custom pieces?
I do custom pieces for people.
Is there any requirement, things that you need to know in order to do them?
Well, if I were going to do a custom piece, somebody would say, would you make me a gourd that, has mushrooms on it? Or, that's one in particular I can remember that I did for a lady. The edging of it I cut to look like little mushrooms right around the edge. And if someone has seen a piece that they've liked, or every piece that I do is one of a kind.
Yes.
I cannot repeat it exactly. I did have had people say, I really liked that one, can you make me one but use a different color scheme? You know,
Yeah.
one lady wanted a basket with the wood burned landscaping around the edge of it, but she wanted a particular shade of blue as a
Oh,
predominant color. So,
well, that's
you
cool.
know, the information that the customer gives me, I take that and produce the piece for them.
Now, if you're looking for a custom piece, you can absolutely contact me, and then I'll get her the information, or you can contact her. Just let her know that you found out about her through us,
Yes.
and we'll get that all situated and get you guys together, and so you can get that custom creation. Well, I want to thank you for coming out today and let us get to know you, and thank you guys for watching and being a part of this. And I hope you all have a blessed day. Bye.